I love the Bible. Let me say that again. I love the Bible, but I love the Eucharist more. Today we remember what Jesus did at the Last Supper. But I think it's good for us, and not to demean any of our other Christian brothers and sisters, but I think we have to remember what Jesus did at the Last Supper, but also what he did not do. Jesus did not show up and say, all right, fellas, I'm so glad to celebrate this meeting with you. And he didn't start passing out New Testaments. He didn't do that. He didn't say, just read this and you're good to go. He didn't do that at all. He did other things, things that made them embarrassed, things that made them uncomfortable with his own body. First thing he said was things like, one of you is about to betray me. Suddenly, they're full of anxiety. But he also did other things that made them uncomfortable. He said things like, this is my body. This is my blood. I'm going to take you, I'm preparing a place for you. I imagine they were sitting there dumbfounded. What is he talking about? That's just weird. That's just weird. But for us, it is not. Anybody who knows anything about love, we love with our bodies. We love with parts of our bodies, especially when we have a broken heart. You know, there's a story, if you don't mind me telling a story, there's a story of about a soldier who went off to war. And every day while he was away, he wrote his beloved a letter, a love letter, every day. I think that's what Forrest Gump tried to do. Every day he wrote her a letter. And every day she would receive another letter, and she would just read it and just loved it and got to know him. She had a stack of letters. But then he comes home, and something very ridiculous happened. He said, honey, I'm home. And she said, well, that's nice, but I have your letters, and that's enough. What? He goes, I'm here, my body, I'm here. Oh, no, I just want to read your letters. And I really love those. And that's enough. How often do we hear things like, how come you haven't been to Mass in a while? Father, you know, I pray every day and I read my Bible. Okay. Well, that's all you need, right? Wow. That's not what Jesus said. He said things like, this is my body. This is my blood given for you. He knows, and they know he's about to leave them. But he wants to leave himself with us. And so he instituted the Eucharist, the priesthood, the Mass. So in a very profound way, you have a more intimate relationship with Jesus than the apostles ever did, at least until the Last Supper, when he said, take and eat, this is my body. It's interesting, you read the three Gospels, and it seems like Judas is not paying attention. Not paying attention. He's doing something else. And Jesus says, the guy who receives this morsel is the one to betray me. And he gives it to, and Judas takes it. He was doing something else. He wasn't paying attention. His mind was on the money he was about to get. Jesus pouring himself out. I want to give you all of me. I want to give you all of me. And that little story I told you, most of you probably think that's ridiculous. That's because you're smart people. Because, you know, that sounds funny. Well, because it is. The Bible has a place. It has a place in the liturgy. It tells us about the Lord. It lets us get to know him. But there's something you may not know. There are people in here who don't speak a word of English. There's a couple in here from Colombia. They don't speak a word of English. And you know what? They don't understand a word I'm saying. And guess what? They don't care. Because they know what's about to happen up here. They know what's about to happen up here. I was in Rome with a group once, and we had a Filipino priest. And he said Mass for us just in one of the side chapels in San Giovanni Rotondo. And there was just 8 or 10 of us, and people started to walk up. People started to walk up. It's 1998. It's a long time ago. People started to walk up and just follow. And I couldn't believe it. I said, wow. I had a hard time understanding him. And I said, well, do you know what he's saying? They're like, no. We know what's up there. We know what's up there. There is something more important, and that is Jesus' body. This is the menu. This is the meal. And tonight, we remember that Jesus uses his body even in more graphic ways. Even ways that may even sound PG-13. I love my priesthood. Let me say that again. I love my priesthood. Jesus gave the apostles a priesthood because he wanted them to go to the people's hearts. Not just that, to even the dirtiest part of their bodies, their feet. That's the dirtiest part of their bodies. And he wants them to clean them. I appreciate Dr. Peter Kreeft. He's a philosopher at Boston College. One of the smartest men you'll ever hear. He is not a priest. He's a father of about 8 or 10 children. But he would always say that priests, hold on tight, priests are spiritual toilets. And that's the bathroom. And your job is to go and wear what? Get rid of all your junk, and it's my job to flush it down. Sounds pretty gross, right? Well, that's what often happens in confession. When all of a sudden they get way down deep into their heart and they reveal it, and it's a little gross. But when they bring it into the light, we can heal it. We can heal it. You know, we cover these things up so we have a fasting of the eyes. So when they come off, we'll actually seem new. Because Jesus came with his body. He could have saved and healed people with a snap of his fingers. And actually, he did that a couple of times. He said to the centurion, take me to your slave. And the centurion said, no. Just say the word. Now, Jesus did heal him. But Jesus always wanted to go. The woman, Jairus' daughter, take me to her. Because he healed with his body. When he takes the man off and spits and puts it in his ears and his eyes. What is he doing? He's giving them part of his very body. So, yesterday we went to the Chrism Mass and we received all these oils here. Now, sometimes they're in this little box over here, but I wanted to talk about these things because in my mind, we would say they're part of Jesus' body. So we have the oil for the infirm. And what is the oil for the infirm? Well, just what you think it is. It's what we anoint people who are sick. For me, that's Jesus' saliva. Why? Because that's what he did. He spit. He used his very body to heal people. This is the sacred oil that we use on babies and exorcisms. What is that? I believe that's the very tears of Jesus when he looked over Jerusalem and wept at their sinfulness. And when he went to heal and rise Lazarus, he was sad because Lazarus was dead, but he was surrounded by unfaithfulness. And his very tears. And those of you who have broken hearts now, because some of your kids have left the faith and gone off to la-la land, you know what it's like to cry from a broken heart, from loss of faith. But this top one here is sacred chrism. I think that's like Jesus' sweat. Because when he saved us, it was a work. It was grueling. In his very body, his sweat, he saved us on that cross. He died of a broken heart, the loss of blood, dehydration, you named it. Again, he could have just done that. But he chose not to save us with his body. But guess what? Up here, we get Jesus' very heart. We get his heart. Every Eucharistic miracle that I've ever looked at under a microscope, it's always cardiac muscle. Look it up, it's all out there. Cardiac muscle that's under stress. as if the person who the cardiac muscle belongs to had a heart attack. Oh, we get all of him with all of this, and it is a privilege. It is a privilege. And in a few moments, we will reenact Jesus doing something that a king would never do. Get down on his knees before his subjects. And he, in the scriptures itself, some say that Jesus took off his clothes and he was revealing himself, and they were like, "What are you doing?" He puts on a towel and bows down and washes their feet. We also know that they were like, they weren't like, "Oh, this is cool." They're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He actually had a fight with them. Now, he could have just snapped his fingers. I think Peter would have liked that. Peter was uncomfortable. "No, I must wash your feet. That's the dirtiest part." "No, let me go there." He gives them example of a priest, of sacrifice, of humility, but also being a means of cleansing after he feeds them with his very body. That's what we celebrate today. The Bible is important. It has its place. The Bible is a Catholic book. We gave it to the world and defended it. But it has its place in the liturgy, and when you take it out of the liturgical text, when you take it out of the liturgical setting and make it your own, it leads to chaos. And if you don't believe me, just go to temple churches, zoom, and go to their websites and see what they say. We're a Bible-believing church. They all say that. The Mormons say that. The Jehovah's Witnesses say that. The Seventh-day Adventists say that. We're a Bible-believing church. Wow, which Bible? Whose interpretation? Why? Why? Because they lost the incarnational aspect that Jesus gave us a body, gave us bodies. He got his body from a woman, and that woman held his body at his most sacrificial moment. Yes, I love the Bible, but I love the Eucharist more. I love my priesthood more every day. It is a privilege. Doesn't mean we don't have broken hearts sometimes. After we receive communion today, we will process around and process out and to the hall. And what is that supposed to represent? Because after Jesus gave us the Eucharist, he took off and went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and the ladies have decorated in there. And we will spend time with him in that garden. And if you have a broken heart, ask God to take it from you. But he might not. Actually, he usually doesn't. If you have a broken heart because of a loss of a loved one, maybe a relationship gone sour, maybe you found out our loved one is dying, or loss of a job or move. Many people in here, there's someone in here with a broken heart. And when you go in there, you remember that Jesus sweat blood because his heart was broken. And when we tell him, "Lord, I have a broken heart," what he usually tells us is we'll have broken hearts together. We'll have broken hearts together. And when you look at a crucifix, and I can testify this happened to me once. I had a broken heart. And I looked up at the crucifix and said, "Lord, take this from me." And he said, "No. But you can crawl up here with me and we can go through this together. That's your body. This is my body." Our hearts, when they break and they heal, they're bigger. He invited to a bigger heart, a more compassionate heart, a real heart. But Jesus, who heals us and gives us his heart to remind us, yes, we love the Bible, but I love the Eucharist